This is Yair Davidi speaking to you from Jerusalem, the capital of Israel, speaking to you on behalf of Brit and Hebrew nations. We are now discussing whether or not you are descended from the tribe of Benjamin. Benjamin was one of the 12 tribes of Israel. Benjamin was the son of Rachel. The other son of Rachel was Joseph. Joseph and Benjamin were the two sons of Rachel. Rachel was the wife of Jacob. Jacob is also known as Israel. From Israel came the 12 tribes of Israel. Jacob, in the end, gave birth to 12 sons. They were the forefathers of the tribes. And we are going through certain characteristics one by one by which Benjamin, or the tribe of Benjamin, was distinguished. And we figure that if you answer yes or no to certain questions, then you may be more certain as to whether or not you belong to the tribe of Benjamin. Now, this is not exact, it is not precise, we may be mistaken, but we can be almost certain that we're on the right track. If you follow what we are saying, and if you follow and answer the questions, and a certain percentage of these questions come up in your direction, then there's a you have other factors going in your favor, then there's a good chance that you too are descended from the tribe of Benjamin. And if you are not, you will learn from this. It will be interesting, and we will do other tribes after that. And you will, by knowing what we have done on the tribes which went beforehand, you will be more certain as regarding your own tribe when the time comes to it. This is our second talk, or continuation of a previous talk that we just did recently on the tribe of Benjamin, and it is we are going on. Previously we brought up different traits concerning Benjamin, such as a lot of them were left-handed, or they used their left hand as well as their right hand. They were romantic, they were sexually active in a slightly above average degree to above average level. They had aristocratic tendencies. They were even tended to be snobbish to some degree, but they respected themselves. They were also religiously inclined, tended to be more spiritual than intellectual. Well, these are only general rules. It's obvious that there must have been exceptions, and there are exceptions. But this is all we have to go on, and this is something. And now we are going on. We are going on to further questions. We also mentioned that Benjamin had an historic trait. Benjamin tended to be heroic. Benjamin is, you could say Benjamin has a tendency to heroism. His preparation, and innate preparation, he's prepared to sacrifice himself for a higher ideal. And this ties in with other traits of Benjamin. Nothing is all the different traits of Benjamin. They link up. They make a composite picture. One aspect reinforces the other and sheds light on the other. So one of the other traits of Benjamin is apparently that he was heroic. If you are heroic, are you heroic? I mean, could you imagine yourself in acting as a hero in certain circumstances? Also, are you emotional? Are you impulsive at times? Would you, if you're in some type of competition, or having some type of competing for certain goals, is second place in your eyes considered good enough, or even preferable to first place? Is second place very good, and in your ambitions, and what you would be pleased to accept, or even as a prior goal to aim at? That's another point that Benjamin seems to be characterized by. Even the way he is born, he is the second son of Rachel. Rachel only had 2 sons. He comes after Joseph. Another point is, can you adapt from one circumstance to another? Are you able to make quick changes according to the changes in circumstances or the situation? Are you adaptable? Do you have Jewish friends? Are you Jewish? Are you attracted to Jews? Do you have leadership capabilities? Now, a lot of people have all these qualities that we have mentioned, but these qualities that we have mentioned have to be taken into consideration together with the other qualities we mentioned beforehand, and the qualities that we will mention further down. And even though they seem very common, when you put them all together statistically, you get down to a very limited number of people, or a very specific percentage of the population. And there's a good portion, a good chance that this percentage has a large number of descendants of Benjamin amongst it. And this is we've spoken about this another time. We'll continue with what we are discussing concerning heroism. How do we get the idea that Benjamin had this trait of being a hero? So we find that when the messengers were of Saul was the king of Israel. He was the first king of Israel. Saul was from the tribe of Benjamin. He was the first king. He himself was a hero. He saved Israel. And he had amongst his children were Jonathan and Michal. Michal was married to David. She was the wife of David. And David was from the tribe of Judah, and he was serving. He was in the service of Saul, and he was a hero, also a hero, and he was praised by the people. And Saul became jealous of him and tried to kill him. And so Saul sent messengers to the house of David, and their intention was to take David and bring David to Saul, and there to put him to death. And David was warned what was going on. He went home, he told Michal, and Michal, his wife, Michelle I suppose is one way of pronouncing it in English, Michal let him down through the window, and then she put the dummies in his bed to make it look like he was sleeping or he was lying there. And when the emissaries of the king came to Michal, Michal said that he is sick, he can't get up. So they went back to the king, and the king said, go back and bring him here in his bed. Pick up his bed with him in it and bring him to me. So they went back, and they discovered the ruse that Michal had done, how she had deceived him, and she gave the excuse that David had threatened to kill her. And so Saul let it pass. And the question is that Michal was a person that is what you did. You didn't want to, it wasn't easy to have a confrontation with Michal, and if she gave a plausible excuse for something she had done, you were better off, or you would prefer accepting that excuse rather than carrying the issue further. Michal was also an aristocratic woman, and that was one of the qualities that she was known by, and this quality seems to be pervasive, or to have been common amongst the tribe of Benjamin. And so too we have Jonathan in Hebrew. Jonathan was the son of Saul. He was a friend of David. He befriended David. And he was an extremely noble figure. Jonathan is a hero. Jonathan is the hero. He is the hero. And the Bible is the hero of world literature. It's hard to get someone who fulfills the image of a hero type more than Jonathan does. And Jonathan had single-handedly, or almost single-handedly, with the aid of his servant, he had destroyed, wiped out the whole garrison of Philistines, and through that he had occasioned the complete defeat and almost annihilation of the entire Philistine army, which at that time was a threat to the existence of Israel, and numbered a great many people. And he had done that almost on his own, single-handedly, through his own initiative, and his own daring, and his own risking of his being, of his personage. And so Jonathan was a hero. He is the hero. And he And apparently we find this trait was well known amongst the tribe of Benjamin. We see later that the tribe of Benjamin fought against the rest of Israel, and at the beginning inflicted several severe defeats upon them. They were also frequently described as men of valor, brave men in the Bible. People from Benjamin have given this description, or whole sections, or whole troops, contingents of soldiers and warriors are described as valorous, as men of valor, and this was something that apparently the tribe of Benjamin was known as. This is heroic. They had this heroic trait. Another point is, do you have an emotional side? Are you impulsive? Do you sometimes take an instant liking for people? We have the Michal, the daughter of Saul. She fell in love with David. It says 1 Samuel 18:20. Now Michal, the daughter of Saul, loved David, and they told Saul, and the thing pleased him. So Michal falls in love, allows herself to fall in love with David, who's an important person in the kingdom, and she lets it be known that she loves him. And at any time, this is something that not many women are prepared to do, but she did, and we can imagine that in those times it may have been even more difficult for a woman to let this situation become public knowledge, but she did. She went ahead and did it. She took the chance. So this also shows a certain heroism of the ability to assert oneself, to put oneself forward, to risk things. She was risking her prestige in this. And she was also showing her emotions, her romantic inclinations. She had this emotional side to her aristocratic personage, to her being. And so too, Jonathan was there when David was not so much introduced to the king, but when the ability of David to do things was made known to the king of Saul, when David was standing in audience before the king. It says in 1 Samuel 18:1, now when he had finished speaking to Saul, the soul of Jonathan was knit to the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. He immediately took a strong liking, a strong attachment, which is described as love, to David. So Jonathan also had this emotional aspect to himself. And this apparently was something that the Benjaminites were known as, and we also saw that previously even in their worship. Benjaminites are characterized by the point of they prefer to pray, to contemplate, to carry out commandments. They are intelligent, they are capable of intellectual achievements, but this is not their first preference. Judah is more known for the legalistic and the penetrating intellectual analysis of matters. Benjamin takes more to the emotional, the feeling aspect of reality. And another question we have is, do you prefer second place to first? But nevertheless would fight for this place as if it was the first one. So this is something we come across in the tribe of Benjamin. They are prepared to take second place. They're not prepared to take third, fourth, fifth, sixth or seventh. Second. Second is good. Second is almost better than anything else as far as Benjamin is concerned. And we saw that Jonathan is prepared to take place after David. Jonathan was the heir to the kingdom. Jonathan was the son of King Saul. He was the heir apparent. Jonathan was the destined ruler. He was the successor of Saul, and he was almost the official, the equivalent of the Prince of Wales. He was the one who was going to inherit Saul and to be the successor on the throne. But he saw David, and he saw that David had exceptional qualities, and that David appeared to have been chosen by the Almighty. So he accepted it. He didn't fight against it. Saul did not like it, but Jonathan accepted it. And whilst Saul was still living and still king, Jonathan said to him, He said to him, I know you're going to be king after my father dies. Just remember me, just treat me well afterwards. Just take consideration of the kindness and the appreciation that I have shown you at this stage. And he said, you shall show me the kindness of the Lord while I still live. This is 1 Samuel 20, verses 14 to 16. You shall show me the kindness of the Lord while I still live, that I may not die. In other words, do not do not kill me. Do not consider me a competitor. Do not consider me someone, a threat who's threatening your rulership when you do become king. Let things be. Respect me and know that will not be competing with you. I will not be an enemy of you on your throne. And he said, you shall not cut off your kindness from my house forever. Also, take consideration of my children, look after them. Protect them. Show them consideration as well. No, not when the Lord has cut off every one of the enemies of David from the face of the earth. He says to David, all your enemies will be killed. God Almighty will enable you, or through God Almighty directly will wipe out all the enemies of your throne and of you. I'm not your enemy. I am your ally. So remember that. So Jonathan made a covenant with the house of David, saying that the Lord required it at the hand of David's enemies. And further on we find 1 Samuel 23, verses 16 to 18, he says, and Jonathan, Saul's son, arose and went to David in the woods and strengthened his hand in God. And he said to him, do not fear, for the hand of Saul my father shall not find you. You shall be king over Israel, and I shall be next to you. In other words, Jonathan is prepared to take second place, and he tells David at the very beginning straight out. And even my father Saul knows that. This is known, this is a fact. This is accepted. So the two of them made a covenant before the Lord, and David stayed in the woods, and Jonathan went to his own house. We see that Jonathan is prepared to take second place. He wants second place. But that's what he wants. He doesn't want anything less. And that is something that is also a certain acceptance of the reality. A realistic appreciation of the situation. Which is something also that the Benjaminites are characterized by. They have this sense of reality, together with their mysticism and their emotionalism and everything else. They have the appreciation of reality and the ability to reconcile themselves to reality and to work within the framework of reality. And not only that, we find this on another somewhere else, at another level, in another aspect of biblical studies. We see that they had the tabernacle. The tabernacle was a place where Israelites worshipped. It was in the tabernacle was the center, was a courtyard, and in the courtyard there were tents, and within the tent. Make your tent the Holy of Holies was the most sacred place of Israelite worship. Just outside the tent was the altar where sacrifices were carried out. So all this complex is known as the tabernacle. The tabernacle they were told how to build the tabernacle in the wilderness. And Moses directed them, and Bezalel from the tribe of Judah and Holiab from the tribe of Dan built it. And they built it up, and it was there, and it travelled with them wherever they went. Wherever the Israelites went in the wilderness, in all their travels, the tabernacle went with them. And when they came to the land of Israel, the tabernacle was, in Hebrew, the tabernacle is known as Mishkan, place of dwelling, Mishkan, from the root Shachain, dwelling. And first it was in Shiloh, it was in the Shiloh, in the middle of the territory of Ephraim, in the center of Israel. Shiloh was there for about 300 years, and then it was taken to the north, then to Gibeon, and after that it was taken up into Jerusalem, and it was incorporated in the temple. In the fact that the tabernacle became the temple. So the sages said that everywhere the tabernacle was in effect in the territory of Benjamin. So how is this? They quote the blessing to Benjamin of Moses in Deuteronomy 33:12, where it says, of Benjamin he said, the beloved of the Lord shall dwell in safety by him, who shelters him all the day long, and he shall dwell between his shoulders. That's how it is translated. In Hebrew, this verse may be alternately read, or actually better read from the Hebrew original, as saying concerning Benjamin, the friend of the Almighty. Benjamin is called the friend of the Almighty. This is also important. This also shows that this emotional side, this inner depth of feeling that Benjamin has. He is referred to as a friend of the Almighty. He's a friend. He will dwell in surety. Benjamin will dwell in surety. He wraps himself over him all day long. And between his shoulders shall he dwell. So the sages understood this to mean that Benjamin is the one who, as if to say, wraps himself over God all day long. What does that mean? He wraps himself, he tries to encompass the place where the tabernacle, which is where the presence of God was to be revealed. And this Benjamin endeavored that this tabernacle should be within his territory, or within territory under his control. And they say, for instance, first it was in Shiloh. It was in Shiloh, and Shiloh is in the tribe, and it's in the territory of the tribe of Ephraim. But we have, it was there for about 300 years. But in Joshua 16:6, it gives the border of Ephraim. And it mentions a place called Taina Shiloh, or the fig tree of Shiloh, with the border skirting around it. So this is and this verse, the way it's placed, is extraneous. It's not in its right order. It's something. It tells us that something exceptional is going on about that. So the sages explain this to mean that even though the territory of Benjamin was much to the south of Ephraim, they had, as if to say, a strip of land going out, reaching up into the place of the tabernacle in Shiloh, wrapping itself around it. And that was it, a strip of land that went up out of Benjamin into the heart of the territory of Ephraim, and incorporated the place of the tabernacle. And there's even a verse in the Bible which says that there might be something to this explanation. And Nob is also in the area of Benjamin, so was Gibeon, and afterwards the tabernacle was brought up and incorporated in Jerusalem. Jerusalem himself was never divided amongst all the tribes, but on the map, Jerusalem may be considered as split between the two tribes of Judah and Benjamin. And the section of Benjamin goes right down the middle of the temple, and it meets the two sections, Judah and Benjamin, in the temple area, meet on the temple itself. So we see here that Benjamin takes in or incorporates the place where God gives his presence. As if this geographical phenomenon may be understood to reflect, as the blessing itself said, the blessing to which Benjamin said, to reflect something about the very character, the innate being of Benjamin himself. And we see here, this too, to some degree, may be considered another aspect of being prepared to take second place. Benjamin is prepared that maybe all the tabernacle, all the temple, is not going to be in his territory, but he wants what he can get. He wants as much as he can get, and if he can get second place, he'll take it, and he'll make sure he gets it. And this is an aspect of Benjamin. He doesn't say if he can't be the top dog, he doesn't want to be in the competition. He knows what he can do and what is possible, and he reconciles himself to it, and he goes out gives himself entirely to achieve what is achievable from his point of view. And this is Benjamin. This is an aspect of Benjamin, and if you have something of this within you, perhaps you too come from Benjamin. Another point that we mention is, can you adapt to sudden change from one extreme to the other? Quite well. So this is also the territory of Benjamin, and the territory of the nation, of the people, of the tribe, also reflects something about their characteristics. The territory of Benjamin was just to the east and to the north of that of Judah, and it was only a relatively small area, but it encompassed. They went from one extreme to another. It was up there in Jerusalem and to the west of Jerusalem, where it can be quite cold and Mediterranean, tending to a European type of climate, to the east into the desert area of Jericho and so on. And in between you have all the different variations of climatic areas. Even in some places you have jungle, tropical jungle in Ein Gedi and so on. You have everything there. Everything is there within this very limited area. And this is a phenomenon which is the land of Israel on the whole is known for. This land of Israel is a place where the continents of Africa, Asia and Europe come together. And so you have the flora and the fauna from all of these different places coming together. You also have the different climates even within the land of Israel, within a very small area. And this phenomenon that the land of Israel is, on the whole, is characterized by, comes to expression even more in the very small, limited area of Benjamin. And so this shows an ability, to encompass different extremes of existence. And this is a geographical reality. This is what they did. And also we have the jasper stone, which is considered to have been the precious stone of Benjamin in the temple. The high priest had a breastplate. On the breastplate there were 12 stones, each stone for one of the tribes. The stone of Benjamin was described as a jasper, or jasper, and it is described in the literature as having all of the colours in it. And all the different colours were to be found in this stone. So this shows a multifaceted aspect to the personality of Benjamin. He has a lot of different things going on inside him, and he is able to live with it and to function very well with all of these things going on, whereas other people can't. Certain people prefer to hone in on, to concentrate on certain aspects of what they are, and to perfect these or put all their energies into these and put the others to one side. Another point that we asked as to whether or not you're from Benjamin is, are you Jewish? Or are you attracted to Jews? Do you have Jewish friends? Would you would you like to live like a Jew? And so on. And these are different questions. These are pertinent also to the tribe of Judah and to other tribes. But just to remind you, there were originally 12 tribes of Israel. The 12 tribes of Israel split into two different sections. 10 of the tribes went to the north and became the northern kingdom of Israel. In the south was Judah, and Judah was together with the tribe of Benjamin. Benjamin joined the tribe of Judah, and so the basic core, the central core of the Jewish people are from Judah and Benjamin. So Benjamin has a very significant input within the Jewish people, within the Jewish nation. And so if you have Jewish friends and you're attracted to Jewish people, maybe it could be an indication that you're from the tribe of Benjamin, because this was what Benjamin was. And many of these people, these Jews, are themselves descended from Benjamin. Another point, it says, we are to ask you, do you have leadership capabilities? King Saul became the first king of Israel. He failed in the end, but he was chosen. He was the first king of Israel. And he was chosen not because the kingdom should have been his, but because in his inner being he had this innate characteristic of leadership. And he did save Israel, and he was a leader in a sense even more than David was. But David had other things going for him, which by virtue of which he eventually took over. And Saul is even described as a Nagid in the Bible, that is a commander, ruler, leader. It says in 1 Samuel 10:1, then Samuel took a flask of oil and put it on his head and kissed him and said, it is not because the Lord has anointed you commander over his inheritance. And that is when Saul was anointed as king, as ruler, he was described by Samuel the prophet as commander. It wasn't described as king, it was described as commander. That is what Saul was. And the people of Benjamin have this quality, and they have it together with Benjamin and Joseph. Both have this quality. They're both the sons of Rachel. They both have this quality of rulership, and Jewish writings show that this quality of rulership also continued in the book of Esther. You know the story of the book of Esther, the heroes of the book of Esther. Esther and uncle Mordecai, they're descendants of Saul, and they eventually also had some type of, in the end of the story, they had some type of rulership capabilities over the kingdom of Persia, and they had this quality of being able to rule over the Gentiles. And both Benjamin and Joseph have this quality of ruling over Gentiles, over non-Israelite nations, and this is something inherent in them, and this requires leadership. So if you have leadership qualities as well as all the other factors, this is another point worth taking into consideration. Jews, we mentioned, if you have Jews in your family, Jewish friends or Jewish relations and so on, it also it increases your chances of being descended from Benjamin. Also, if you're French Canadians, the French Canadians mainly came from certain areas in France, from Normandy and Brittany, and our researchers show that in these areas there settled Israelites in ancient times, and these Israelites, a certain portion of them came from the tribes of Benjamin, as well as other tribes. And from these areas came once more a good portion of the French Canadians, of the original French Canadians, and we find amongst the French Canadians qualities that suggest that there's a significant degree of Benjamin and Canadians, a significant proportion of those who may well be descended from Benjamin, and we will discuss this at another time, and we will prepare an article upon it. This is a new finding for us, and the evidence is very interesting. In addition to the French Canadians, we also find Benjamin, as we said, amongst the English upper classes in different areas of England, Ireland, Scotland and France, and so on. Benjamin, we repeat, Benjamin on the whole was to be connected with the Jews. So certain Jewish communities, such as the early Jewish communities in Germany and in Romania, amongst whom there were people who there was an idea that the earliest communities were also related to Benjamin. So these are all factors worth considering, and taken all together we reach results that are significant, or at least helpful. Another point we have to ask is, do you have a tendency to take by force, to grab what you believe belongs to you? Also, are the elderly in your family often physically almost as active as young people? Are they vigorous in their old age? Another point is, are you prepared to stand alone? Are you prepared to stand up for your principles alone against everyone if necessary? So we'll go into these questions very quickly, and then we'll finish up this section. And remember, everything we say has to be taken, take it or leave it, has to be taken very carefully, it has to be considered together with other facts. But we'll get there. This is the way we achieve results, we achieve conclusions, and this is the way we can reach the truth, because there is truth in what we are telling you, and it is all part of the study of the Bible and the study of ancestral tribal origins, which in our day and age is something that is required. And in Benjamin was blessed in Genesis 49:27. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf. In the morning he shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf. A wolf grabs things. The sages pointed out that Benjamin always had a grabbing, seizing aspect to his personality, for good and for bad. And we saw the concubine in Geba, when they tried to grab the man, and they grabbed the women, and they did that. It was used for evil. And then it started a war in which the whole of the tribe of Benjamin was almost wiped out, and they lost all their women folk, and they had to replenish their population. And there were men who didn't have wives, and the rest of the tribes of Israel, after the horrendous action that had been taken against the dignity of females, the incident of Geba with the concubine, the other tribes had taken a vow that they would never allow any of their daughters to marry someone from Benjamin, because the Benjaminites were considered then as not being able to properly respect women. So they'd taken a vow, and now the war had been finished, the tribe had almost been extinguished, the point had been made, and they regretted the whole thing, but they couldn't really back down on the vow, so they found a way to get around it. Every year, once a year, all the maidens in the area of Ephraim would come to Shiloh, and they'd go out, and Shiloh is up on a hilltop, or the hilltops around Shiloh is like a mountain, and then you have deep valleys down below where there's vineyards and so on. Even in our time, you can go and see it. It's very worth looking at, it's worth seeing. I used to live there. It's a very beautiful area. Anyway, at that time, once a year, all the maidens, all the young girls, unmarried women used to go out into the valley, and they had put on special clothes and they dance. So, the members of Benjamin were given permission for the rest of the tribes to lie in wait as if in ambush. When the women came out and danced, all the men ran out and grabbed a wife, which actually is one way of performing matchmaking. It could save a lot of the dating problems. Anyway, everyone grabbed their wives and took them, and the other tribes went members of the representatives from other tribes and went to the families of these women and placated them and asked them to do a favour to the rest of Israel, to help the kindness to the Israelite community, that they enable in order that the tribe should not be entirely extinguished, to allow the Benjaminites to keep these women as their wives, and so continue the tribe. So they had this aspect of grabbing was fulfilled in them, and so too we have Ehud, from the tribe of Benjamin, the judge who said that he deceived the king of Ammon, and he killed him, and he grabbed his heart. That is similar to grabbing, according to the sages. It's like taking hold of the confidence of someone else in order to gain power over him. This is another aspect of Benjamin. And also we see elsewhere this aspect of grabbing, of going out and pouncing on your prey for good and for good and for bad. When Jonathan defeated the Philistines, he, as if to say, deceived them. They didn't really know what he wanted, then he grabbed them, took them unawares like a wolf. And so they have this aspect of their personality. Also the blessing said, Benjamin is a ravenous wolf. In the morning he shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil. In the morning is the early years of a man's life, and at night he shall divide the spoil, and at night is the evening when he becomes old. So that shows that even in the old age, the people of Benjamin will be formidable and still vigorous in many cases. So this is another characteristic of Benjamin. And this answers the question as to why or how we may deduct that the elderly in the families connected to Benjamin may often physically be almost as active as young people. Now the point is, are you prepared to stand alone for your principles if necessary? This is another factor that we find in Benjamin. On the whole, we find Benjamin as being somewhat snobbish, socially aware, a group. He works in a group, he thinks like a group, like wolves travel in a pack. He is very, very conscious of the proper thing to do and what people will think, and he acts accordingly on the one hand. On the other hand, he has this opposite tendency. He is prepared, if need be, to stand up against everyone and to fight against them all in order to assert himself for the sake of his family or for the sake of principles he believes in. This quality too is present amongst Benjaminites, and maybe they got this from their forefather Benjamin. Benjamin was the son of Jacob. Benjamin was the brother of Joseph. Joseph was attacked, seized upon by his brothers, and sold as a slave into Egypt. And then his brothers tore up his clothes and bathed them in the blood of a goat and brought them to his father, and they told his father that a wild beast had devoured him, and Benjamin was left alone. And Benjamin was the son of the old age of Jacob, and Jacob had, as we see in the story, and the whole story of going down to Egypt, and the whole thing about Benjamin also having eventually to go down into Egypt, and how Benjamin was at the point of conflict between Judah and Joseph. Before Joseph revealed himself to his brothers. All of these things are significant, and all of these things are worth going into, and they do tell us something about the character of Benjamin and also the future of Israel and of the tribes of Israel. But we shall do this at another time. At all events, we see that Benjamin and the incident of Gibeah, when they defied the rest of Israel, went to war against the rest of Israel in order to protect members of their own community, of their own tribe, even though they were criminals and really evil people. But they risked everything they had in order to protect them. They had this family cohesion, family loyalty, which can be used for good and for bad, and also shows the ability to stand up against everyone and to fight for what they think worth fighting for. So these all together, these are all the tribal qualities of Benjamin. They are worth considering, and if you or know others who have these traits, or if you yourself have these traits, so you have above average, a reasonable degree of probability that you too are descended from Benjamin. And we shall go into this more, and we shall consider other tribes. And when you take what we've just learnt about Benjamin, and we compare it to what we learn about the other tribes, the picture will become even more lucid. The whole idea, the whole principle of what we are trying to establish concerning tribal identities will be more coherent, more clear, and may God guide all of us. May God bless all of us. May we go in the direction of the Lord Almighty, according to the Bible, according to the Torah. Hashem be with you.